Geodes. Big geodes, little geodes, medium-sized geodes, massive geodes. What do you do with them? Do you cut them? Do you break them open with a hammer and a chisel? Do you saw them open? Do you just leave them alone? Take a look and see what you think. What would you do with your geode?
Well, here are some of my geodes that I picked up in southern Indiana. Some of them I've broken up already, and others are awaiting that, and then others, they just seem too pretty the way they are to break apart. So for example, this one right here, I love this red here, and I like the look of it. It's sort of like a brain, and because of that color, I've just never broken it up, and I don't think I ever will. I think it's going to have to stay like this. I would add this one into that same category. Very, very nice color on the outside and a nice texture. Looks very good in landscaping, and so this one is going to stay just like it is as well. Now we're moving, and so I have to make a decision. Am I going to take all my rocks with me, or am I going to leave some of them here? I think it'd be easy enough to take these with me, but this is some of what you get when you break up these big geodes. Like this one here, I broke up. And yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think it's cool on the outside. But at the same time, what you're after is that cavity. And it does have a cavity. And it is beautiful. But it is not as spectacular as I would like it to be. But it's still kind of nice in landscaping. Then we've got these smaller ones that, you know, do have a certain beauty all their own. And you can see the pattern. And of course, some people say that these are actually fossils, that these are crinoid calyxes that have been geodized. And, you know, I'm not going to argue with people that know what they're talking about, but that seems possible, especially when you look at the pattern on there. This golden one, I think, is pretty beautiful, and it would be a shame to crack it apart, because when you crack it apart, you don't necessarily get what you want, and so there's a risk. Now, this one here, I love the shape of it. It just looks like it's, it almost looks like a seashell, and the way this is and this is, it's, I would lose all of that shape if I was to crack that open. And it's solid. It doesn't rattle at all. In fact, all of these that I'm showing you here are solid. This one here, I found southern Indiana. I've tried to clean it. It needs to be cleaned more than what it is right now. I tried some hydrochloric acid on it that was 23%, and that didn't quite do the trick. I do like this kind of a reddish rose kind of color look there on what I assume is quartz crystals. So if I put the muriatic acid on it, it may in fact clean that up completely. And I have some geodes that I've cleaned with muriatic acid. Now these little guys here, they're kind of fun to just give to kids that maybe have never heard of a geode or knew of a geodes but had never found one. It's kind of fun to just give them away. And then some of them you find are already partially cracked open, and I suppose there's not much to lose by cracking this one open, but I do kind of like the shape of it. Here's one I broke open. I went to break it, and it split into about 6 or 7 different parts, and I've just never cleaned it up. I think it is kind of pretty with that dark staining on it, so I'm leaving that one alone. This one is a solid. Now take a look at the outside of that. I mean, isn't that neat? Sorry, I didn't clean these up very well. It's got some dirt on the outside here. That, I think, is gorgeous. Even though it's a solid, I think with the iron staining on the edges, it looks pretty awesome. Here's another one that I cracked open, and it has some nice terminated quartz crystals. So if a person was to clean that up a little bit more, it would look pretty nice sitting on a desk or coffee table, if you're into that kind of thing. Here's one that I'm very curious about. It's very heavy, so I figure it probably is a solid. and it doesn't rattle, but this outside is so ugly and eroded. It makes me curious as to what it would look like on the inside. You see the nice patterns on these? This one here, I went to pick that up and I thought, wow, this is lighter than what I think it should be. I don't know if you can hear that, but there is some rattling going on when I hold it up, so it does have a little bit of a cavity inside of it. And so this one I think for sure I'm going to cut up. This I picked up along with a whole bunch of geodes, and it honestly doesn't look like a geode. It is some kind of conglomerate, but I see there's a major crack going on right there. So I think I'm going to help that crack along and just see what it might look like on the inside. We're moving. Should I take them? Yeah, I'm going to take them. I've actually got one that's quite a bit bigger. This geode is pretty amazing. That for sure is going to go, although it would take more than me to pick it up and put it in a truck. So let's get busy and break that apart, and that one apart, and maybe this one too. Hammer, little chisel. I don't think I'm going to use that one. I have a preference for this chisel when it comes to breaking up geodes. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of scoring it a little bit, just to kind of get things started. I mean, if you hit it with a sledgehammer, you'd ruin it. There we go. Let's see what it looks like. It did have a lot of stuff inside of it. There we go. That's pretty cool. I like it. On the other side, not so spectacular, but you could set that in your landscaping and it would look good. Pretty nice. Got some double terminated crystals down in there, quartz crystals. That's better than a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. All right, moving on. And this one, I don't believe is a geode, but it has a crack, and I'm just helping the crack along. Well, it's a lot prettier on the inside than it is on the outside, so I would call that a win. No crystals or anything like that, but pretty for sure. I like it. But this one is ugly enough that I don't think I'd be losing much cracking it open. And as I suspected, it is a solid. Really isn't much to look at, but it wasn't much to look at this way either, so I didn't lose anything. And I think I'm going to leave the rest of these alone. That's gorgeous.